It is true that people are talking a lot these days about change and the degree to which we're experiencing change. The suggestion that we're dealing with change on a much larger scale than has been the case over a long period of time, honestly, I'm not so sure. I think that we have always encountered change. Society, whether you define it as a national society or a global society, something is always happening, and usually multiple things at the same time. So I don't think, much as we love the term disruption at the moment, I'm not sure that we are in a uniquely disruptive moment of world history. And I say that actually as a sort of celebration rather than a rejection of the importance of the changes we're going through today. They are significant. The introduction of social networks, everything that has happened since the invention of the internet, I mean, all of that makes a huge difference in the way we live our lives. I'm not sure that that we're talking about, to use Thomas Kuhn's term, a paradigm shift, where everything that applied in the past no longer applies in the future, and we have to come up with a new model for the way the world works. I'm not sure it's that significant, but we certainly are living in a time of change, and I don't think we are prisoners of our technologies. I think we, in many cases, we invent the technologies. They don't invent themselves, and they don't invent us. So we have the choice of what gets done with the things, the new machines that we have developed. I don't think we have lost the ability to influence our collective course in history. We have the choice. We certainly have invented things, machines, processes, perspectives that have a life of their own. And of course, you refer to Frankenstein. Frankenstein is, I think, a salient example of what we would today regard as a science fiction invention, but which we could make real if given enough time and some specific discoveries. Frankenstein creates a monster that gets out of control because Frankenstein, the scientist, doesn't abide by his creation. In other words, he walks away. He's horrified by what he's done. He walks away, and the monster, the creature, effectively teaches itself how to be at least proto-human. But it is, at one point it says in the text, I am malicious because I'm miserable. And I'm miserable because you, my creator, left me. Right? So the short answer to a question about out-of-control inventions is, if we tend those inventions, if we manage them, they don't need to get out of control. We have the choice, but we also have the responsibility. Algorithms are an interesting topic in the context of all of the conversations we're having now about artificial intelligence and about the machines we've created to generate new ways of living. I may be wrong, but I think if you go back and look at the earlier conversations about algorithmic reasoning, you would find a greater confidence that they were value neutral and uninflected by the biases of the people who created them. Obviously, we have gotten to a different place now. We recognize bias in algorithms, and we are dealing with that, and the application of ethics, so different perspectives on ethics certainly come to bear on the way we think about algorithms today. But beyond that, it seems to me that we need to think much more broadly about the way we engage with one another in the world in which we live, and it's not just algorithmic reasoning. That helps, that's a piece of what we do, but it's only a piece of what we do. And to, again, the often raised question of what machines will learn by applying algorithmic reasoning, so deep learning effectively, seems to me that what we're doing in that arena works much better as an extension of primitive machine learning than machine learning itself. So the idea that whatever the entity is that's acquiring this information, that it goes out and it covers a huge span of data, assimilates it, processes it, and then expresses in response to questions or initiatives from a human interlocutor, answers, steps, processes. That seems to me promising, but not out of the realm of ethical engagement. I don't see any place in the development of artificial intelligence where ethics is irrelevant. It will always be relevant. When we talk about ethics relative to machine learning and artificial intelligence more broadly, the humanities, it seems to me, remain a fundamental part of the puzzle of how we develop. A lot of people have written about the design element in what's happening in the tech sector, and the design element always factors in the arts, the liberal arts broadly, as well as the ways in which we think about the technology itself. Science fiction plays a huge role in actual science. And so you could look at something like the Near Future Laboratory, which among other places has an office in Barcelona, where they are talking about the intersection of the design process and tech development, right? So how does the design of any one of these aspects of digital reasoning, how does that happen, and how do, call them biases if you wish, call them also simple human inclinations, and the course of human history, the course of human culture, how does all of that factor into the way we think of the technologies we're developing? Significant and constant, so that the play back and forth between science and technology on the one side and the humanities, the arts on the other, is constant and fruitful, and you can't separate them. So the interaction seems to be fundamental and constant. In a world of mass communication, do the interactions of technology and society need to happen at a mass level? I would say not necessarily. I think we still have Da Vinci-style players who master multiple disciplines, who can play across the divide between. So I think we have moved beyond the world of two cultures to bring C.P. Snow into the picture. It's not science on the one side and the humanities on the other. These fields have interpenetrated each other, or one another if you posit more than two. And there are players on both sides, or among, say, three sides, if it's the humanities, the social sciences, the natural sciences, technology and the life sciences, and the humanities or the arts. I mean, we've got people who are playing across those areas, and in some cases they're industrialists, you know. So I'm thinking of some of the people who are working at leading the biggest tech organizations, but we've got artists who are doing the same thing and have been doing it for years, who have recognized the significance of technology and factored it into their artwork in much the same way I think you could argue that Da Vinci and others have done it in the past. So I don't see an exclusionary element here. Do the social media affect how we proceed? Absolutely. But, you know, just to offer one example, and I'll talk about this later this evening, the play Copenhagen, which is about a visit that Werner Heisenberg, Nobel laureate in physics, made to Niels Bohr, his mentor, in Copenhagen in occupied Denmark, right, in 1941. Bohr, again a Nobel laureate in physics, the two of them together putting the Copenhagen interpretation of the way the world works, right? So the play, as Michael Frayn sets it up, includes the two scientists and Bohr's wife, Margrethe. And Bohr is very insistent in talking to Heisenberg and trying to determine why Heisenberg has come, which he actually did in real, so this is history, right? Why he has come to Copenhagen. And he says, let's talk about our science in plain language, so that Margrethe understands. Margrethe stands in for you, me, and everyone else in the world who is not a Nobel laureate in physics but wants to know whether the atom bomb, once it's created, will matter. And of course we know it does, right? But the figure here, as important as the two scientists, is this woman who is listening to them and who knows them both well, not just as scientists, but as the human beings. So Bohr, at least, is totally aware of the importance of bringing in the rest of us who represent, you could argue, the norms of the society or societies in which these men engage. And that was 1941. And we could play this tape back over centuries, I am sure. You just need to go out and collect the examples. So there is a constant intersection of the genius scientist or technologist with the societies in which he or she operates. Do we face a significantly greater rate of or scope of change today than we did 100 years ago? I think not. I think that what we face today is significant. There's a lot of change. We are going through a lot of change. But my guess is if we had the opportunity to talk to people, of course this is why we go back and collect oral histories and so on, to at least begin to move in this direction. If we went back 100 years, 200 years, and talked to any given subject and asked him or her, is life changing? The answer would be yes, it is changing. And I'm not sure what it means that we now have a steam engine, that we now have railroads, that we now, that the Wright brothers have invented the airplane, or if you take it even further back, that someone, for reasons that we can't fully understand, anticipates the tank or the helicopter, right, centuries before they actually got created, people would say, absolutely, this is a time of great change.